Thank you all for coming. We will start with emergency services tonight. Chief.
Good evening. Tinicum Township Police Department reported 230 incident reports for the month of August. 95 were for service, 51 were criminal or investigative in nature, including 1 theft report and 1 drug-related arrest. 75 were for traffic, 5 for training, and 4 for court. We had 1 reportable traffic accident in August. Motorcycle struck a vehicle leaving the Frenchtown Bridge after the vehicle proceeded without clearance onto River Road. We've had an average of 3.2 reportable crashes in August over the last 5 years. And on October 28th from 10 to 2, we'll be at Waring's for our fall drug take back.
Thank you. All right. Before we get into announcements, just in case anyone is here for Rolling Hills update, we will not be discussing that at this meeting. And on to announcements, the Dirt and Gravel Road project, Cannon Road update. So we have been doing a project on Cannon Road, and the mission of this project is to protect the water quality and improve the roadways and drainage system that have a direct connection or impact to the surface water. There is a limited amount of funding available, and Tinicum Township was fortunate to qualify for the funds. The township is pleased to announce that the Dirt and Gravel Road project on Cannon Road, funded by the Bucks County Conservation District and the Penn State Center for Dirt and Gravel Roads, has gone well and is almost complete. The project will provide significant improvement to stormwater control on the road, as well as added stream protection. The board wishes to thank the Public Works for their excellent work and with Bucks County and our residents for the patience during this project. So that road is going to end up being very similar to what we have here on the end of Municipal Road with that material, and hopefully will stay much stable, much longer, during future winters and storms. The second annual Trunk or Treat at Tinicum Park, the Parks and Recreation Board, the annual Trunk and Treat is scheduled for Saturday, October 28th. The rain date is the 29th. If anyone is interested in volunteering, please contact the Tinicum Township admin buildings, Terry, or anyone on the Parks and Rec Committee. And you do not have to volunteer to be part of a committee. You could just volunteer for the event itself. So we'd be happy to have anyone come and help. There will be a senior expo hosted by Representative Shelby Labs at the Senior Expo on Friday, October 6th at the Penridge Community Center. That is 146 East Main Street in Percy. For more information on that, you could go to shelbylabs.net. And then we will have now a update from the Tinicum Groundwater Committee, our annual report. Yes.
First, thank you for inviting us to present the work that we've done. The committee, most of us are here from 3 townships, and Riley and I are the appointed members for Tinicum. I'm one of the newest members, but I feel very privileged to be able to talk to you all. The fact is that for 23 years, our group has been measuring the levels of water, groundwater across the 3 townships. We have 10 continuously monitored wells where we collect data continuously 24 hours a day, 23 years of it from most of those wells. And we also have an additional 40 wells that we go out seasonally to measure the water levels from. We use a variety of methods we've introduced a new instrument to measuring the water depths to sort of modernize our system. We see some real interesting trends over the 23 years. I know over the years I've seen some reports that you guys have seen from 2013 and so on. So we see some very interesting trends, and with 23 years of data, we can honestly say that we have sustainably managed our water resources. And that is because of all the things that we put into control. Our development hasn't been out of control. But with climate changing and development happening in the world. We need to just be really careful about focusing on maintaining a sustainable water resource because all of our water is groundwater. I think all of our water in Tinicum and across the region is. Most of the water comes from secondary porosity, so that's water that is not in a reservoir. It's not like one big swimming pool or one big river underground. It's interconnected fractures and faults and caverns and all kinds of places where the water just works its way through. So we have water at different levels, and it's not really connected until you get down toward the river where we have an aquifer. Actually, we have gravel all along the river because we have alluvium coming off of rocks, and then we also have the floodplain. So that is a fairly nice water resource, and I happen to live down there, so we have no shortage of water down there. In fact, we have other issues that are related to water. It turns out that we have a fellow who is a hydrogeologist who provides analyses for us, and he does a really fabulous job of helping us understand what it all means. And so he's developed a local drought monitor. And the importance of having a local drought model and monitor is that when the state says, oh my gosh, we're going to have a drought or we're not going to have a drought, we can look at our wells and you all can ask us, well, what's going on? There's no snow. Eleanor wrote to us this winter and said, oh my gosh, we've had no snow. Are we going to have a drought this year? And the fellows looked at the data and said, no, it looks like our reservoirs are pretty full. And, we know that if they're full at this time of the year, that will be okay through most of the year if things stay more or less normal. We do have the advantage of having a gauge, a stream gauge to look at flow in the Tohican River. With that, along with our wells and with the various precipitation monitors around the townships, we're able to really come up with a good model for what's happening with recharge and also with regard to drought. I did want to put a plug in for the committee because they've donated a really wonderful weather station at Palisades High School, which we use for precipitation. So it's really key. And the school also, we're working with the school to try to get them to use it as sort of a community outreach. So, the moral to the story with that is that our model can help the supervisors to anticipate drought and help you guys better manage whatever announcements you might want to make. So we encourage you to reach out to us, and we will also reach out to you as we have this model now. We can sort of tell you what we think at the beginning of the year and in the summertime. I did want to talk very briefly about our future because we want to know from you all how we can better plan as a committee for the future growth and climate variability that we all anticipate. And I'm sure everybody's read all about it in the New York Times this weekend. So we think it's important to assess and address all the vulnerabilities that we may have, even though we think we are managing our water sustainably. And we believe that as a group and as a committee, we have wonderful, talented engineers and scientists and volunteers who can help develop solutions to anything that's within, of course, our mandate. We did have a meeting talking more about how we can propose to adapt what we're doing in addition to water levels. And we're thinking that we might like to start measuring and looking at water quality. We have a very brief overview proposal that we'd like to present and we'd like to discuss with you at some point in the near future. We think that what's most important, of course, is now that we focus on water quality and that we can develop a really good education and outreach program so that more of the community knows what they need to be doing in terms of testing, how often they should be testing and what to look for. And we've decided that we can, as a committee, develop a baseline by volunteering our own wells. So some of us have had our wells tested for water quality. I just had mine tested, and so we can sort of develop an idea of what the water quality is for our wells at this point in time, and we can look forward. I've had tests of my well since 2016, so I can look at my data from 2016 and tell you that not much has changed, which I'm very happy to report. I like data, and so I think I said this when you guys appointed me. I think it would be really great to establish a long-term study where we are monitoring our water quality for our community. And I'm not saying that we have to go out and monitor it, but we can encourage our community to go out and monitor the water. We'd like your input. We'd like to know how you'd like us to focus our work as a water group, and in particular in terms of water quality. And we're thinking we might like to have a water planning session with you guys if that's could be on your agenda. Okay.
Can I ask a couple of questions?
Sure.
Thank you very much for all the work you're doing for the township and the other two townships. We really appreciate that. On the readings, when you take these readings on these wells, do they have to have the cap removed on the wells in order to do the readings? Or is there some sort of electronic device?
Well, that's a good, very good question. Because that's one of our biggest concerns. And no, you don't have to take the cap off.
But you don't?
No,
Okay, that's
but
good.
we.
You don't
Stand.
have to take it off the table. Don't build it.
If you come, everyone online can't
Yeah.
see or hear you unless you come up to talk to them like.
Yeah, you don't necessarily need to take the cap off. If you drill the cap out and have threads in it, you have one of our new monitors in it, or one of the old style monitors, which goes on a cable down into the well and has a pressure sensor. Then you don't have to take the cap off each time. If you have a traditional well cap, yes, you do have to take the cap off. And then we typically use a sonic probe, sends a sound wave down, bounces off the water level, comes back. But we have to do that each time.
Do we have any wells where we take the cap off, or do we have most of the wells that we're going to do?
Well, no, the only ones, most of them that, the only ones, permanent loggers, which are about a dozen or so. And those, we don't have to take the cap off. If we have a slot cut in those wells or a hole drill, that we don't need it for those. But the biannual readings that we do, we have to pop the cap. A number of the caps are just loose, and I just lift them off and then ping the well, put the cap back on. Others have bolts, and I have to unscrew all the bolts, take the cap off, ping the well, put the cap back on, screw up the bolts.
Is there any possibility of pathogens entering that when you're taking that cap off and you're doing your testing?
The cap isn't a sterile thing in the first place. When I take the cap off, there's usually spiders and cobwebs and whatnot there.
But there's a seal at the bottom of them, at least the one on
Some
one.
of them have a seal,
Yeah.
and those are only on the real modern ones, and they're supposed to be 18 inches off the ground.
Mhm.
But half the wells are like
Okay.
6 inches off the
Okay,
ground.
got it. Mhm.
The operation of taking the cap off and pinging, putting the cap back doesn't endanger the,
Okay, so bleach doesn't have to be added to the well when you're
that's a
doing it.
separate thing. In fact, that gets back to the water quality issue.
Right.
And you can certainly have surface water infiltrating down into the well in a number of different ways. The casing could be too short. The casing could be rusty and have holes in it, or water can go down alongside the casing and then go down and then enter the well. So that's why measuring the E. coli and coliform content is important to do. And then if you see that you have coliform or E. coli, you can try shocking the well with bleach. But then but that's only lasts a short time because it's a symptom of a problem. It doesn't solve the problem. And then you need to put some sort of UV.
Yeah, blue light.
UV light.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
How many wells are actually in Tinicum? That I see you have 40 wells how many of those are in Tinicum roughly? Do you have an idea?
Well, I would say about half.
Really?
Yeah.
We have the majority of the wells
Wow.
on this end.
Yeah, that's
That's
incredible.
sort of that's kind of a legacy from Bob Stanley.
I could get you exact numbers.
No, I just wanted to know out of 40.
A lot of it is focused into it.
And the majority, well, the rest, that's like, not gonna, and then we have half dozen wells.
And my last question is, how deep on average are these wells that you're testing?
They're drilled, it varies a lot, but the wells in these three townships share a very similar geology. And they tend to be amongst the deepest in the whole state of Pennsylvania. And it's not uncommon to have a 400 or 500 foot deep well. But the pump isn't necessarily all the way at the bottom. It's just, it's drilled.
Yeah. Mhm. So you would say around 400 feet might be an average?
Would be typical. That would be a typical well.
Okay, it's pretty deep. That's good. Again, thank you, and I'd look forward to meeting and having a discussion about what we can do and how we can protect our water.
Absolutely.
Does everybody know Todd Stone? He's our chairman.
I do.
Hi.
Yeah, we used to meet here. This is like, coming home, and we used to meet in Tinicum Township.
They should all come up, the
Yes.
people that haven't met you yet, because you do such awesome work.
Mm-hmm.
I think you should all come up and introduce
So this is
yourself.
Dr. Stephen Donovan, who's an amazing chemist. He's helped us to really understand some of the threats that we have with regard to some of the horrible chemicals that we're reading and hearing about, especially up in some of the rivers. And Mary Lennon is a volunteer, and she is
Amazing.
everybody's amazing, but he goes out and climbs through, all the woods and collects all of the data from the continuously monitored wells. And also, just the continuously monitored wells every 2 months. So she's out there downloading data. Todd,
And we have a seasonal variation study as well that Mary, reads, another group of wells twice a year and trying to determine the high point and the low point in the seasonal
Right.
variation.
is obviously with Stephen
I
going
do
out to.
think that as well. And the point of the high point and low point readings are that it's our contention that the difference between the high point and the low point during the course of the year can oscillate. And wells in Pennsylvania, it's not uncommon to have a 5 foot, maybe a 10 foot variation. But some wells we've seen are as much as 40 feet variation. And our contention is that that is a symptom of a mismatch of withdrawal and recharge, where with the lack of storage capacity, so that during the year where it's not recharging much, it can drop quite a bit. And the concern there is that it allows us to locate the areas of interest, because that will be more susceptible in the event of a drought year. You want to have a 40 foot drop, you could have a 100 foot drop, and some wells will go dry. And the other is that some wells around Palisades High School do those very large variations. And it does a couple things. One is to sensitize us where a drought might be a problem. And the other is that if a development were to go in around these areas that have these high oscillations, that they'd be more susceptible to over withdrawal. And we never, ever want to get in a situation where it becomes unsustainable. Because that's why I got on the committee, was that if we were to not be minding the shop and overdevelopment came in, we would have to go with township, with the municipal water. And at the current price tag, it's close to about $100,000 per person, and it's not an optional thing. So you would be obligated to cough up $100,000 to put infrastructure in and pipe the water up from the river and distribute it all throughout the township. And it's a horrendous cost. And what's been done in the past is that people come up with $100K to do it, or the water company would be very happy to say, well, you don't have to give us right now. We'll just build it into the bills for the next forever. And you'll be paying it off the $100,000 and change over time. But either way, it would change the character of the township, because right now you have to have 2 or 3, 4, or 5 acres for a property. But if you had public water and public sewer, you could have quarter-acre lots. And that would fundamentally change the whole character of the township and would stop the reason people wanting to live here in the first place, because we have this rural township that stays rural because of the limited capacity of the natural resources. So that's one of our major focuses. I will stop talking.
Well, there are a lot of other problems if you over withdraw, aquifers.
You were introducing the group.
Todd,
Yeah.
Is our chairman Todd Stone?
I was brought up, Mary and I are the lay people on this committee of scientists. So if I can understand them, I figure you can understand them. I'm the first level of having to understand the science in this. And I was brought on by Dr. Robert Stanfield on this committee probably 20 years ago. We remember Bob Stanfield. Bob Stanfield is a very forward-looking scientist who loved this township, Tinicum, and understood the challenges from his background in the oil industry of what could happen to our shared aquifer. And the first book he gave me was The Tragedy of the Commons, which points to what happens when we have a shared free resource. So our townships have benefited from his forward looking, and it's a great pleasure for me to be working with science. And I look forward to having a conversation with you about this initiative that we're talking about, because it has real impact on the community as we start to study and archive water quality. Dr. Riley Murphy.
Good.
And
Next.
Bill Ballantyne as well.
We know
Sure,
Bill.
everybody knows Bill. He's with EcoBucks, he's the
I
president.
represent EcoBucks, and I'm another one of those lay persons that really struggle to get a C in my science business.
And, you know, just to close out everything, I think it's really important for everybody to realize that we have no funding, we don't need funding because we get grants to fund the equipment that we have, but otherwise, everybody volunteers their time and
We really appreciate that.
Told that our data that we've collected over the years would cost millions of dollars if it was collected privately. But this was all through volunteer effort of people like on our committee. And a well owner to have.
oh, right, we don't want to overlook the well owners because they give us their wells for free,
Right.
right?
That's right.
Thanks so much for your time.
It's
I just
tremendous
got a
work
question
that
for
you do.
Dr. Riley. I think last year you made a presentation to us last year, and I mentioned to you, I know one of Dr. Stanfield's biggest things was bounded aquifers. Oh, everybody's laughing. Okay. Could you give me an update on that? Have you studied that? Has that come into conversations or not?
No, I mean, it's something that we've certainly talked about. I mean, that with having enough local data, it would be definitely something interesting to look into, to be able to really be able to see. I mean, we do have some information where there's certain wells we can tell, talk, kind of talk to each other in a way, or respond in very similar ways. Especially around by the high school, there's certain wells that don't really correlate with each other at all, and there's other ones that correlate very tightly. So we can get some information about at least aquifers that are on the wells in the same table. But I don't think we have any real information, any much on. I mean, as far as bounded aquifers, I mean that's a situation where you have potentially be able to completely deplete it without any.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right, so.
And that has happened in Tinicum in the past.
It has?
Oh, yeah. There was a development that went in across from Tinicum Park, what is it?
Off of Cafferty Road?
Yeah, right. It's next to the state park. And
Oh, no.
Bob
I know.
Stanfield's contention was that that development shouldn't go in. And what the testing was done by doing aquifer tests there. And in doing the aquifer test, they drained the aquifer. And his contention was this is crazy to proceed. And for whatever reason, Tinicum Township decided to go ahead with that. And now they have to truck in water.
Where is this development? Are you familiar
It's
with this?
I'm not familiar with it.
African Road, it's Prime Motivators, one of the names of it.
One thing that we've learned in our studies, in the past, we regulated groundwater in the 3 townships by geology. And one thing that we've learned during our study is that it's too simple, that the geologies are overlaid. So what are I don't want to, I'm going to save this for our work session because there's a lot to talk about, and I know you have a full agenda tonight. But I look forward to talking to you about the watershed ordinance that Napa-Nixon is on schedule to pass in their upcoming September meeting. It's been a long time coming. We based it on Tinicum's ordinance. There's some revisions to it. We think make it a less susceptible to challenge ordinance than what we currently have. And I'll leave it at that. And I look forward to having an executive session with you to get your feedback on where we're coming.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for all the
everybody.
work you do.
Public, I think has some questions.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Jim Drum, resident of the township. I guess the question is,
Have 'em
is there,
come up.
It's sort of like,
I just wanted to know if there was a legitimate list of, testing. I know there was a couple around, but like, I've really struggled to find, yeah,
Penn State, Stanford?
that's what I've used. I always send them to Penn
That's
State.
what we recommend. Yeah, Penn State is a good one.
Okay.
There's other private labs that are also good.
Okay,
But, we periodically put out information on where to have your water tested and the costs of things, and often some of the more important, things to look at in that testing. But the first thing is always just, E. coli and coliform. That's off the bat. That should be done every couple of years. And then the more esoteric things are like arsenic and lead, which are in the area. And, those are good to know as well.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
thanks, everybody. Moving on to old business, headquarters road bridge update. So we do have an update on headquarters road bridge. We had talked in the past couple meetings about getting a study done about the pier loading capacity. And the initial thought was that we had to actually go out and do some additional corings on that. After review, the engineering firm determined that the information that we currently have from 2014 coring report and the test pits that we recently did this year with digging next to the stone foundations of the piers, that he can come up with a report to give us the information that we're looking for without having to do any additional field work, which is great. We don't have to drill any additional holes in anything. We're expected to see that report in approximately 4 weeks. So potentially sometime maybe the end of October, we might have that report and we'll be able to share that information with the public when we receive that. On to advertise hearing. I guess we're looking to advertise ordinance 260, which is entertainment. And this is, sorry, we are at you got the mic is long enough.
Too many wires.
All right, so we are looking to advertise this.
No, you already advertised this.
Oh,
This
we already
is
advertised,
actually
okay.
here for adoption. So the Bucks County Planning Commission reviewed this. Well, the Planning Commission put it together.
Yep.
It went to Steve to make it look a little more like an ordinance. Bucks County Planning Commission then reviewed it, had some minor suggestions. Steve Harris was able to just deal with them. We advertised the ordinance and it is here as advertised for your consideration for adoption. Everybody's looked at it pretty many times.
All right, so I will make the motion to adopt ordinance 260 entertainment. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion, comments, or questions? From the public? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Then we have advertised hearing, and I guess I'll excuse myself after introducing this, the Agriculture Security District application of myself and Christina Helms. Or do you want to?
No, this one. I don't know what that was about.
Oh, okay.
You know?
I think we do, but we'll get to that after.
Okay.
We'll do this.
So this is for my property to be added to the Agricultural Security District. And I guess I'll let you guys handle this.
Okay. Do you want me to start? Do you want me to start?
Sure. Do you want to give the background?
Okay, so Ag Security is a program put forth by Bucks County through the Pennsylvania Department of Ag. And Ag Security is there to protect farmers from nuisance complaints associated with farming. That being said, it does not protect people and make them not allowed to follow the ordinance. I mean, nuisance complaints being like, I don't want to hear chickens every day. So anyway, there's no tax break for this. It's, if you did have large quantities of land, it would be a prerequisite to going for agricultural preservation, but for the smaller farmer, it's really just protecting their right to peaceably farm. So this property is in the residential agriculture district. It's been properly advertised. It's been posted. We've given a comment period. We've had no one opposing the application. Steve, we've mailed to every participant as necessary. Steve, am I forgetting anything?
No.
Oh, the planning commission, I'm sorry. The planning commission reviewed it and they recommend the board accepting it. I think that covers it.
I just have one question. You sent me something I had asked for, the ag security data from Pennsylvania. And the
Yes.
first thing on the top of that is unofficial copy?
That's all they have.
Is there an
I
official?
understand.
Is this
No,
official?
That's all there is. That's all there is.
Well,
That's just the handbook.
Yeah,
so-
that's the guidelines for you. That's all there is.
But it's unofficial.
I understand that, I didn't author it or title it.
Seeing as your property, do you know anything about that? I mean, is there anything in there that stands out for you?
With the unofficial part, no, I'm assuming it's probably related to maybe the maps they're related to, because they're constantly updated. I don't know. But that all comes from the Pennsylvania Department of Ag
Yeah,
website. So
I just want the official one. I'm just
yeah,
curious.
that's where all the information I got for this game.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I couldn't control that.
Okay, so go ahead.
Well,
go on.
yeah, I mean, I'll make the motion to accept the Helms property into the Ag Security District.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Jim abstains.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Steve, is there anything that we need to sign or just
Yeah.
record it now?
And you and your wife signed the
Mhm.
acknowledgement of addition of land.
We have not.
Okay, let me give it to you. It's gotta be signed in front of a notary.
Okay.
Then you bring it back, it'll be signed by the Board of Supervisors and I'll record it.
Moving on to zoning ordinance codification.
So originally the board had authorized us to advertise this. However, it's not exactly like a normal codification where there's a bunch of revisions that you're voting on in order to codify. The planning commission, and I said it at the last time we talked about, it, they did massive amount of work. But there's no changes to the ordinance that we didn't pass an ordinance already.
This is
So
just
I
like a
spoke with
reconfig-
Steve and he can confirm that as this is only a reorganization of the book. Steve, I need them to accept it because it would change section numbers for when the zoning ordinance is quoted on a letter. Other than that, you've already voted on every possible modification, so we didn't really need to advertise, which actually saved us hundreds of dollars. So, Steve, how do I put this through since there's really not an advertised hearing?
Well,
So that,
we're gonna authorize it to be published, right?
yes, is that it?
About the motion to publish the, recapitulation or whatever you wanna call it.
Codification.
Of the, zoning ordinance as prepared by the planning commission.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And thank you, Planning Commission.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, you're out there.
It's been a very long-term project. On to new business. We have a discussion on cryptocurrency mining, operation ordinance. Understand that we are looking for the PC to take a look at this.
Another look at it. So the PC looked at it, the office worked on it, the PC worked on it. It wasn't actually in a form that could be put in an ordinance, so, Steve Harris put it in ordinance form. And I sent you the draft, and I guess at this point, because we put it in like an ordinance form, Steve and I think that the safest thing to do would be for you to authorize it going back to the Township PC and to the Bucks County Planning Commission before we ask for authorization to advertise.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm looking
Have
for.
to go to Bucks County, they haven't seen it.
Right. So that's all I'm looking for. Authorization to send to
Yeah,
Bucks County
yeah.
PC and back to the Township PC.
Take a motion to refer the ordinance to the Township Planning Commission and the Bucks County Planning Commission.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Other new business, another Ag Security District Act application, Callie Ann Iden, am I
Yes,
saying that right?
that's right. Mhm.
On 628 Cafferty Road, is requesting, or the request will be reviewed by the planning commission during their meeting on September 26th. And the hearing, will be held on October 17th during the regular scheduled board supervisors meeting, to accept public comment and propose modifications by other landowners in the Ag Security District. On to regular business, the minutes of August 15th, 2023. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. The treasurer's report and budget recap for July is
In your packets. and-
in our packet and on the board for review for anyone to look at. Payroll report. I'll make a motion to approve the payroll periods ending August 11th in the amount of $34,248.11 and August 25th in the amount of $33,108.91.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Disbursements. Take a moment to review. I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The PMRS Annual Minimum Municipal Obligation Worksheet, 2024, or for 2024. So there, I think you do a good job at explaining this. every year.
Okay. Every year, the township is required to do its best estimate of what the uniform pension plan and what the non-uniform pension plan, what the minimum township obligations going to be to that pension plan. This affects how we get our money from state aid and help. It affects so many things. So we're obligated to get that to PMRS. So they send a worksheet. They actually tell me the math they want to do. They have the actuaries. And what they require every year is that I share the number in the worksheets with you. You don't even need to approve it. This is just documentation that you've seen it. I'll send it on to the state. They'll okay it and things will go on.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so the answer, then I need, the answer to this is the minimum municipal obligation, according to the formula that they provide you, that you have to use, is $26,400 roughly. Is that typical of every year?
Yes, yes.
So nothing jumps out.
There's nothing alarming or anything that's that much different than the normal trends, or I would have brought that to your attention.
Thank you.
All right. I don't think we have anything for Public Works except another thank you for the Tin Cannon Road project.
That's actually going really, really well.
And then on to zoning announcements, which there are a few, so bear with me as I read through them. The zoning hearing board application, zoning hearing board 2020-302 of Giordano. The zoning hearing board that was scheduled for 9/14 has been continued to 11/9/23 with the planning commission review to take place on 9/26. Back to the Board of Supervisors to decide on taking a position or not on 10/3. The zoning hearing board application 2023-3 of Thomas Berger has been withdrawn. So that is now off the list. Zoning hearing board application 2023-4 Eugene Parrott and Michael Schmidt. The zoning hearing board is on 9/28. Tonight, we get to discuss if we want to send a position. And the planning commission reviewed this on 8/22. And I guess what I'll do is we'll come back to this. I'll just read through the rest of them. We'll do this one at the end. If that makes sense. Conditional use application 2023-3 April Vigara. This will be before the Board of Supervisors on 10/3. The Planning Commission will review on 9/26. The zoning hearing board application 2023-5 Mark Callow. The zoning hearing board is scheduled for 10/26. The PC will review on 9/26, and it will be back to the Board of Supervisors on 10/3 to make a decision if we want to take a position. And then finally, zoning hearing board application, ZHB 2023-6. Michael Tierney has been withdrawn, so that is now off the list. And so now back to the one in front of us tonight. This is for the applicant requests relief from multiple zoning ordinances to allow the construction of a driveway to cross the wetlands. And yeah, this is the decision for us to send a solicitor or not. And the planning commission did review this, and we have their minutes in the packet.
Oh, we didn't get their minutes yet. We have their sheet that they fill out advising you of their opinion.
So the PC reviewed this and
They're advising the board to stay neutral. They have no recommendation.
yep, clear requires variance.
Mhm.
Are you guys here to make a presentation? So we do have an easel over there.
My name is Gavin Lebowski and I represent the applicants Eugenie Perrette and Michael Schmick. This is a vacant property off of Lily Valley Road, 9.7 acres. Our clients purchased, this is Stan Lauka from Bruce Surveying, I'm sorry. The variances are really simple. This is the first step in what is gonna probably be a pretty long process in getting a house built on this property. So it's a 9.7 acre parcel, subject to a conservation easement. It was created pursuant to a plan back in the late 1980s. It's lot 7 on that plan. Below that is lot 6, and above that is lot 8. I believe that's right. In any event, lot 6 has a house on it and a driveway that crosses over the property line between lot 6 and 7. And there's a shared driveway easement for the owners of lots 6, 7, and 8 to be able to construct the driveway to serve those parcels. Right here, you can see in the middle of the plan an area of wetlands where a portion of the existing driveway sort of crosses over and around. Our clients have approached the owners of both lots on either side of them and asked for permission to take their driveway around the wetlands to avoid it, and both of the neighbors have said, no, we're not willing to do that. So the only choice for our clients is to use the existing driveway, which they have the right to do under the easement. And then it's hard to see on the plan a little bit here, but sort of peel off of there and go to their property, where they would construct a single-family dwelling with typical amenities. This area that they're going to cross is about 240, 250 feet of wetlands. So all of the variances relate solely to that crossing. So it's crossing the wetlands, it's intruding in the wetland margin, it's constructing the driveway within 5 feet of the property line, disturbing the wetlands ground. All of those variances all relate to this. Our clients have not yet decided on the house that they're going to build, where exactly it's going to be located. They want to tackle this problem first. They understand that they need conditional use approval for some of the overlay requirements. And they may need additional variances or other zoning relief when they finally design the house. But the first task is, can we get approval to get to the property? And if they can get that approval to get to the property, then they'll move forward with hiring their architect and designing the site, planning stormwater, all the things that are required. So this is the first step in what's going to probably be a pretty lengthy process. I haven't received written confirmation, but Tinicum Conservancy has the conservation easement on the property. And according to our clients, they are in favor of this and don't oppose it. I'll say don't oppose it. I don't know if they're in favor of it or not. They don't oppose it. They've been working with our clients to try to come up with the best solution. So that's the gist of the application. That's the relief that's requested at this point. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have.
You said the Tinicum Conservancy doesn't oppose the what? The building of the house?
Yeah, the construction of the driveway and the house. It will be in the building envelope that's.
That's the only thing that they have any participation in, is the building envelope. Is that correct?
Well, they have a conservation easement on the balance of the property.
Yeah, but you're saying that the driveway is outside of the property boundaries, is that correct?
No, they're.
So that shared driveway is actually on,
Yeah, so-
that lot 7?
Correct, so these are multiple lane lots.
Right.
And the driveway itself sort of starts on our client's lane, crosses into the neighbor's lane, back on our.
Oh, so it's
client's
going
lane.
back and forth on.
It goes back and forth, and in fact, the easement is drafted that way. The easement says that the property owners will get together, figure out where the driveway goes to do the least amount of disturbance to the property, around trees and those sorts of things. So yeah, it is, part of their property.
Okay, got it.
In fact, the bulk of this lot's driveway, really is on our client's property, at least the entrance is.
Thank you.
But the easement that's shared among all the property owners requires them to consider the least amount of intrusion into the sensitive areas?
What it says is that the parties, won't, there's not a designated location for the driveway, that the parties will, and it's already been built for the most part, but that they'll consider, the location that does the least amount of disturbance. And I know what you're getting at, which is why not impose that on the other property owners, and, we're gonna try this way, to try to avoid, doing that, because the extent of the easement is for the access, and going this distance into the property around the wetlands, I don't think was really contemplated by the easement.
How much intrusion? How much intrusion are you talking about on these other properties?
Well, we
Is it
put the
100 feet?
all the way down here, below the existing.
So it's a
wetland.
significant
It's a
amount?
significant intrusion.
How about to the north? Is that north? I don't know where north is. Okay.
Yeah, roughly the
Same thing?
to the top of the plant. It's a significant intrusion into their property. It's a big ask. And it's certainly understandable that they're not amenable to it, but we thought that we'd try that first.
When you come before the zoning hearing board, are you planning on presenting this plan? Or will you provide something that shows the location of the other homes and how those
Yeah.
driveways branch off?
We'll have a much more,
That would be helpful.
more of an aerial plan, with some existing features on it, the trees and other features. And I think we'll have this driveway more clearly defined in terms of coloring. Is there one in the back? No. Yeah, we'll definitely have some plans that make, more visual sense.
When you presented this to the planning commission, was there the expanded plan, if you will, was that presented? to
No,
them?
no.
And,
I do have a copy of the overall subdivision plan I created this lot, but it doesn't have the detail like you're asking about.
We'll use an existing aerial.
Terry, do you know if our engineer was there at the planning commission?
He was not.
He was not, but he prepared a review letter.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, and all of his comments are
Mhm.
satisfactory. We don't have any trouble complying with those comments.
I mean, I don't,
I think I'd leave it up to the zoning hearing board.
yeah,
to
this seems like a
see
cut and
that.
dry zoning, request. I don't think.
Do you want to mention, with a caveat that they comply with all the engineer's comments?
I think based on, trying to keep the zoning hearing board, in the know of our position is that, we make sure that that gets to them. And that, also that they're aware of specifically the deed situation that you guys have, this, so they're fully aware.
And there will be the expanded plan, if you will.
Yeah.
that will show the other one.
We'll have,
Okay.
exhibits at the hearing that will cover that, copies of the easement, and testimony on those subjects.
Yep, so I don't see a need to send any representation.
Oh, You don't want another night out, Steve?
And because of such, we don't have to vote on anything. We're not doing that.
Very good. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And on to, public comments. Does anyone have anything related to, something that's not on the agenda to discuss? Seeing them, I make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second.
Meeting adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is a resolution, we give them state, it authorized the advertisement.